Happy anniversary to the Women's Board. Thank you very much for supporting the arts, for lifting hearts with your work.
Maggie McClure prevailed upon me. You never said no to Maggie McClure anyhow. You couldn't, because she'd bop you on the head. And she prevailed upon me and I guess 28 other ladies to start the Women's Board in 1962.
Ed Gordon called me down to his office, which was then above the Schubert Theater. And the first thing he said to me was, "Why do we need a women's board? You haven't raised a dime." And so I sort of was taken aback. And he hands me a check for $400 and says, "I want you to be autonomous."
Why is it a surprise that women can find money? They can raise money because it's always coming out of my pocket going to some woman. So I'm glad you're doing good things with it.
I know of a group of strong women who share your reputation for flying in and taking care of business. So I propose for the next 50 years, we simply call you the Ravinia Valkyries. Hoyotaho!
One day I got the word that the Women's Board was to deal with the remains of the old casino. And at one point I said, "We are not selling the windows." And Bud was standing there and he said, "We have to sell them." And I said, "Well, we're not going to sell them. And we're not selling the chandeliers."
I'll tell you, every girl in the Women's Board, I always said, could run General Motors.
You're an extraordinary group of women doing extraordinary things.
50 years of blessings and accomplishments from the Women's Board.
Not only support, but visionary leadership.
Congratulations.
I congratulate the Women's Board of the Ravinia Festival.
Congratulations to the Women's Board of Ravinia for 50 years of service.
Not only are we here after 50 years as a Women's Board, but we're thriving and we're doing great things to help support the festival.
The first cruise was an experiment. It was like taking a risk. And it didn't raise any money, but people loved it. So after that, it's an easy sell.
Ravinia Galas are always the highlight of the summer season, of course. And they are absolutely formed and styled, actually, by the Women's Board.
I mean, even our first one in '67, people were formal. It really wasn't a fundraiser. We charged $25. It was just kind of a celebration. And we thought it was very grand, but compared to the galas today, it wasn't so grand.
The great thing about this year's gala was that we had this surprise performance. Very, very few people on the Women's Board knew this was going to happen. It was really just sort of the right balance of a tribute to not only the ladies that were leading Ravinia's Women's Board, but to just women in general. I think there's a great sense that we are not only respected, but very much appreciated, and that evening highlighted that certainly. We've been planning this year for several years, so we tried to anticipate a number of events without overdoing it that would highlight the year, highlight the 50 years, and be a real tribute to all of the women who are not only on the board right now, but have been for the past 50 years.
The loveliness of Ravinia has struck in us a chord. So in 1962, we formed a women's board. We sold sweatshirts, trips, and galas, and still do that stuff today. We even dressed like a frog to reach teach play.
Well, in the early days, we were trying to figure out how can we make a difference, reach out to the inner city. And we thought one of the ways to do it was to get some teachers, some mentors, to go to some of the high schools. And the Women's Board came aboard, and without them, I don't think we would have made the progress that we made.
know Ravinia as a great entertainment park on the North Shore, but only a few know. It also brings music to the inner city Chicago public schools and also the neighborhoods.
I'm just so pleased to know that for so long the Women's Board have committed themselves to really working with the children.
What's been interesting is to see the Women's Board consistently rise in its level of importance. From being a very modest adjunct to the main board, it's become really a full-fledged force that's absolutely essential.
Being on the Associates, what an inspiration it has been for what you've done.
We have come a long way.
Congratulations. Congratulations on the great 50 years.
I know the best is yet to come.
Congratulations.
It's absolutely fantastic, and without them, I don't think it would have survived this long, so I wish them another 150 years.
There isn't anything that I do, there isn't any decision I make, there isn't anything that doesn't affect the Women's Board or shouldn't be in some way or another consulted on with them.
I have had the opportunity and honor to watch them in action and see all the wonderful things that they accomplished for the festival and especially for the Stains. And I am very thankful for everything that they have done.
This is as good as it gets.
Congratulations.
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 When they said they were going to do a cookbook, I said, oh, good heavens, don't do that. We've got so many cookbooks, it's a disaster. I was never so happy to be so wrong.
The women that were involved would have all these wonderful recipes.
We all had to agree, and if there was something that wasn't quite right, we had to figure out. That's when we all gained weight.
Most of the recipes were extraordinarily good. So Tuesday nights I really look forward to.
My husband's first name is Stanley Freeling. And so the girls thought it would be and he likes crab very much. So they named it Crab Stanley, but he really is not crabby.
Oh, good.
At least not all the time.
He's crabby when he doesn't get this.
That's right.
The Women's Board has been a collection of the most amazingly talented, intellectually stimulating women.
And we're just so excited to be celebrating 50 years.
What can one say about the Women's Board? They are indispensable.
Ladies, all I can say is thank you. Thank you for everything you do for us.
May you all continue to glitter and be gay throughout your next half-century.
Congratulations, and here's to another 50 years.
Really, without organizations like that, we couldn't do what we do.
Without you, without the students that you've affected, we wouldn't be here enjoying the most amazing place to make music.
One of the most meaningful things to me was Ed Gordon saying, "We have the best women's board in the Midwest."
Let's face it, ladies, there have been some real dismal songs written about women over the past 50 years. They often have a cheating heart or a black eye or an inability to last 2 verses without the support of a strong man. You've taken a sleepy venue into directions it never dreamed, starting education programs, writing best-selling books, and raising more money for Ravinia than even the world's biggest banks. And I vow to you tonight, to hell with Runaround Sue and Delta Dawn. We've got bigger songs to sing. Congratulations. Sisters are doing it for themselves.